Hi, today I'd like to discuss sales, negotiating, and bargaining. And I'd like to start with a story. I seek to get to know everybody that's in my life. Not just my coworkers, my family, my friends, but rather, I even want to get to know the guy who does my laundry, who makes a minimum wage. I want to get to know the person that stocks the shelves at my grocery store. And I'm not just going to say hi and bye. I may ask a question every now and then or start a conversation because I just like talking to new people. Now, the other day, I'm going to the grocery store, and I go there because I need to buy a couple of things, and one of them is a new mouthwash. So let me show you the mouthwash that I happen to get. It's this stuff. Now, it's just like any other mouthwash. You know, they're beating their dick off with the bullet points as to why they're amazing, but then they have this little thing here that says, gums bleeding, try this. They use red, and they put it diagonally so that I really notice that section. And while I'm talking to the stock person, I'm asking, you have 3 boxes of the same thing. Wow. And she says, yeah, this thing sells every single day. Every day the shelf is empty, and this is probably not going to last more than a couple of hours. And that really intrigued me. So I decided to look at it, and that's when I noticed that. And my gums just so happened to have been bleeding. So what do you know? I bought it. Now, I want to focus on what this company did differently than every other mouthwash that was on the shelf there. See, every other company was interested in listing the reasons as to why their mouthwash was awesome. So they were living in their world. Now, I would see them say, uses this natural ingredient, was never tested on animals, and can cure gingivitis, but without using unnatural ingredients and blah, blah, blah. Whereas the other mouthwash may say something like, uses this terrible fucking ingredient that if you swallow will kill you, was tested on animals to ensure that it cures their gingivitis before you try it on yourself. And they would just go, every one of them had bulletproof lists, and all of these lists are them discussing the objective qualities that they think makes their mouthwash good. Whereas this mouthwash here is not talking about the objective qualities that makes it good at the expense of everything else. Rather, they're talking about my problem. They're invested in my world. Now, they don't have a lot of space here, but it says, are your gums bleeding? Try this. Great. So now they're in my world. I am ignoring everybody else because they're the only one that managed to actually focus on my world. They're the only one that happened to focus on my problem. So what do you think I did? I bought it. This could be Shrek's fucking piss with orange flavoring, and I'm going to continue to buy it thanks to that excellent marketing that they did. And I want to talk about why this is important. People do not make decisions based on facts. They make decisions, gut decisions, based on emotions. And what causes people to feel emotions more than pain? Facts do not cause people to care. The ingredient that's in your mouthwash is not going to make people care. The fact that it cures this, that, and the other does not make people care because these are facts that are coming from the world of the company that made the mouthwash. What makes people care is their pain. My pain causes me to feel something, and when I feel something, I will then feel compelled to buy, which is why I bought this. And the reason that I feel this is so relevant to the world of repair is so many repair shops will just beat their dick off talking about all the things that make them great when a customer walks in, and they will just completely forget to talk about the customer's problem, to be in the customer's world, to be focused on the customer's problem, and to be focused on the customer's pain. This is not at all in the process of the average repair shop's sales routine, and this is something that I see to be a problem. On one hand, the repair shop owner will be talking about all the things that make them great. We use these parts, we have this experience, we have this workflow, we have a great success rate. On the other hand, then you have the douchebags who will go, oh, this other place destroys things, this place loses things, they don't even have a store. How can you trust a place without a store? Notice, by the way, that my cat not only rips the cat food from the fucking bag because he's too impatient to wait for me to feed him, he's also now has the nerve to eat it right in front of me. Apparently not. Continuing. They will, regardless of which sector they're in, they're focusing on what makes them great or what makes somebody else worse. They're not focusing on what they should focus on, which is the customer's problem and the customer's vision of their own pain, so that you can get them to make a proper decision. So let's start with something like data recovery. You'll see on these websites where they're talking about how they have a clean room, they have this percentage success rate, they have this experience, they have these specialized tools that nobody else has, blah, 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 blah. And that's not the approach that I take when a customer walks in. When a customer walks in and says, oh, well, my friend knows how to do this, that, and the other, I was just curious if you could give me a quote or an idea, before I even start talking about what makes me great, I'll ask them a very simple, interrogative-led question to get a better vision and understanding of their pain, and also to be able to present their pain to them and tie it up with a nice little bow. I will say, what would the repercussions be if a pirated copy of Disk Warrior, being used on the original disk instead of on a clone of the failing drive, caused your failing drive to be unrecoverable by any lab that you send it to? And that really gets them thinking. I'm not talking about how bad somebody else is, nor am I talking about how amazing I am. I haven't mentioned any of what I'm using. For all you know, my idea of data recovery is nothing but using a pirated copy of Disk Warrior and calling it a day. But what I've done is I've got them to think about their pain. Oh shit, what if my friend really has no idea what he's doing? And I'm getting them to focus on that emotion, that pain that brought them here, because they would not be here if somebody else could have just started doing the job already. They're here because of some type of pain, and I want them to realize what that is. Now, you may very well have a customer who doesn't care if all the data is lost because it's not important, but if that's the case, they probably shouldn't be going to a licensed professional business in the middle of New York City where you are going to get charged an amount of money commensurate with the fact that I am a licensed professional business in a major metropolitan city. Let's move on to something like iPhone repair. Now, there's a place that's about half a block down from us that's 20 to 30% cheaper for every single job. Look at this little motherfucker. I fed him 1 hour ago and he is already stealing food. I digress. They will go to a place that is 20 to 30% cheaper and then come here and then they will mention it. So I'm not going to say I use original parts. I have 20 years experience. I know how to do this without ripping this cable. I'm not going to go on about all that bullshit in my sales pitch because now I seem needy. And people hate needy salespeople. People hate trying to be convinced of something. The harder you try to convince somebody, the more you push the pendulum in this direction, the further it's going to swing this way as soon as you let go. And you eventually have to let go. And the pendulum will eventually swing in the other direction, and they will walk out the door, because that way of selling doesn't work. I'll start with, again, a simple interrogative-led question. I'll start with something like, what would be the ramification if your phone completely stopped working 2 weeks from now as a result of a refurbished screen being installed instead of a new one? And as I'm doing this, I will pick up a box that's labeled screens we sell to refurbishers, filled with the broken screens that I take out of customers' phones. Now, a very small percentage of them are just getting it fixed to last until their upgrade comes in 2 or 4 days, and they don't really care. But for 98% of the other people, they would be in complete and utter shock if their phone went haywire at 9 o'clock on a Friday night right before they were planning to meet up with all their friends. This would be a complete nightmare to them, and when I get them to understand that that's maybe why they walked in my door instead of going to the prepaid phone service store, that this worry was a valid worry, a good concern, and then they magically just walked their way over to my check-in computer. For all you know, I'm using those parts. I didn't tell you what my experience is. I didn't tell you what makes us better. All I did was discuss with you your situation from your world, from your perspective, and try to get an idea through my interrogative questions what your pain is. And once you get the customers to understand what their pain is, once you seem to understand their pain, it is very, very easy to get them to make a decision without having to go on and on and on and jerk yourself off about what makes your business so great. I look at people who are going on about what makes them great, and especially the people that go on about why everybody else sucks, and I sigh and I roll my eyes because they just don't understand that most people do not make decisions on facts, they make them based on emotions. So, when you are trying to sell somebody, try to get inside the customer's world. Don't try to bring the customer into your world, and don't try to sell them something without understanding where their problem lies and where their pain lies. If you don't acknowledge that you're not going to be able to sell people very well. I am a terrible, terrible salesperson. I am a terrible, terrible people person. I don't get along with a lot of people. I'm not friendly and cuddly. I'm not always very nice or professional. And I often am selling companies on services and parts while acting unprofessional, while cursing, and while wearing a $5 Fruit of the Loom shirt. And the way I'm able to do this effectively is by focusing on their world, focusing on their problems, and focusing on their pain before focusing on my nonsensical facts. I want your parts and services to fly off the shelf at your store as fast as this mouthwash flies off the shelves at the Union Square Whole Foods. And hopefully, if you take this into account when selling, it will. Type in the replies if you've had any success. I want to hear it.